I'm running two servers right now. Both run Proxmox, both are mini PCs from Beelink. Here's what I wish somebody would have told me before I started. Figure out what you want to run in concept, not specific services, because services change over time. My name's Jason, welcome to Uncluttered Tech. Let's get into it. The first mistake I made is that I bought too much hardware in pieces. I started with a $130 4-core Intel N95 mini PC. It had 8 gigs of RAM, 500 gigs of storage. I figured it would run everything I needed. It didn't. So I bought a second one. It was a bit more powerful, an Intel N100 with 16 gigs of RAM in the 200 to 250 price range. This one had 2 NVMe slots. It still wasn't enough for my needs. I stick with mini PCs because I live in a 600 square foot, 1-bedroom apartment. So there's not much room for large PC towers if I want to keep my apartment looking like a livable space rather than a computer store. That's a personal call I made. If space isn't as tight for you, small form factor or mid-tower PC cases are worth a look also. Luckily, I caught that the second purchase was underpowered before the return window closed. So I sent it back, bought the server I actually run today. This one's a Ryzen 5 5800H, 32 gigs of RAM, 1 NVMe slot, 1 SSD slot, onboard graphics. Honestly, it's a solid entry point if you're just getting started out. I go through the full build in a previous video, linked in the description. My second server is a Ryzen 5 6900HX, 24 gigs of RAM. It's got less RAM, more powerful processor. I've had 20 plus services running across both with zero problems, plus several virtual machines as well. On the 24 gig box, I can run either an 8 or a 12 gig AI model, depending on the model, at acceptable speeds. Not ChatGPT fast, but usable once you know the limits. Mistake number 2, no backup plan. I didn't think about backups at first or at all when I came to my first server. It was a test machine. I figured if something broke, I would just wipe it and start over. Something broke. I wiped it. Only then did I realize it was the only copy of a folder of photos that I had. All gone. Lesson learned. Think about backups before you buy hardware. Same device, second device, external drive, separate machines. It doesn't matter which. Just build it into the plan from day one. Mistake number 3. I picked hardware before understanding the need. You'll hear people say you don't need much power to run a home lab. And that's true. People run these on Raspberry Pis. It can be done. But for the flexibility I wanted, low power wasn't enough for me. Here's what I do differently. I'd start with the concept, not the services. Do you want off Google, iCloud, Microsoft? Host your own documents and productivity suite? You want off Netflix and Spotify with your own media server? Do you want room to test new services and spin up virtual machines? Once you know the goal, the hardware tends to pick itself. One box doing everything or dedicated devices per group of tasks. Either way, budget for your backup up front. Say you've got $2,000, maybe $1,500 for the server, $500 for the backup. Or split it equally, however fits your setup. For me personally, I'd run a small form factor server for upgradability plus a dedicated NAS, either 4 to 6 bays minimum, either from a brand name like Ugreen or TerraMaster, or if budget allows, a custom build. Storage needs depend on use case. Before I got into content creation, my entire digital life was under 20 gigs, plus a couple of 100 gigs for photos. Everything else was media. Content production changes the math very fast. Plan storage for the next 5 to 10 years, not just for today. Rule of thumb: don't plan to keep upgrading your server or your storage. That's how a hobby turns into a part-time job. Buy as powerful as you can afford up front. A server should hold for 3 to 4 years. A NAS, since it's where your files actually live, should last longer. My oldest NAS is 3 years in, the second one's about a year in, and I've got no reason to touch either one. What I'd buy today on a $2,000 budget: the most powerful processor and RAM I can afford, plus a graphics card, because I want to run local AI models. 8 to 16 cores, 64 or more gigs of RAM, if I can swing it, with RAM prices being what they are. An NVIDIA 40 to 50 series card, again, pricing being what they are. Realistically, a second-hand card under $500 is probably the sweet spot today. $4,000 flagship card isn't worth it for home lab use, even if you're trying to run local LLMs. Bottom line: figure out your use case first, then the services, then the hardware. That's the whole framework. I'll go deeper on Docker containers and virtual machines in future videos, so stick around, like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.